perfect mess is my perfect mess. Perfect mess is my perfect mess.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Perfect Mess Podcast. I am your host, Ray Molina, and this is episode 41. Before we jump off into it, make sure to follow me on Instagram at It's Ray Molina, and the podcast is at the Perfect Mess Pod. And as always, you can check me out online. My website is raymolina.com. So make sure to check those things out. For those of you who've been locked in with me for well over a year now, I appreciate you guys staying with me, helping this thing to grow. It's just been quite the journey. So anyways, welcome to episode 41. I know it's been a little while, and I gotta tell you, man, I have not been myself. You know, I started the episode off with this quote, and I always look for quotes that are similar to, or I can tie into what I've been going through in my own life and how I've been dealing with things. And usually, man, if you follow me, you know, especially recently, it's usually been pretty upbeat. But over the last, I want to say 6 weeks, it has been a very, very tough ride for me. It was just one thing after another, and I just have not been able to I don't know, I have not been able to get my feet under me. And like most of you know, I always share my life with you. I'm very, very candid. That's what this podcast is about, is my life. And I always share with you guys the things that are doing good, the things that are not doing so good. And when I make it through certain points of my life, I like to share how I did that with you. So if there's anybody out there who's going through something similar, they can kind of navigate their own situation as well. Recently, I think a lot of you know that my car has been, my car took an absolute shit on me, and that put me in a really, really bad situation. I had the car in the shop, thought it was going to be, a couple of weeks, and it turned out the dealership absolutely screwed me. They misdiagnosed my car. I ended up giving these guys, well over $1,000 to do absolutely nothing to my car. And then they came back with the notion that I was going to pay $7,000 for my transmission. Now, mind you, my car did not go into the dealership with transmission problems. So I'm of the belief that they messed up somehow and then tried to get me to flip the bill on it. Regardless, I had to, tow my car back. We got into a big old dispute. So I ended up having a car literally sitting there with no reverse, no nothing, and being told I need $7,000 to replace the transmission. So that was very tough for me. So I went through having to navigate, getting, taking care of my kids, getting them to and from things that we would do, keeping them active. And not only that, but like continuing to work and keep an income coming for me, all while trying to understand, what am I going to do about this car? And the biggest deal with that is, I had everybody say, "Oh, why don't you just, trade it in? A dealership will take it, as it is, and you can get a new car. I know, why don't you do this? Why don't you get a truck? But what people around me don't necessarily understand is there is a plan that I have for my life. Excuse me, I'm drinking tea. There is a plan that I have for my life, and it does not include being in debt my entire life. It does not include having another car payment for the next 6 years. Um, and I know for a lot of people that's not realistic. They're like, "Oh man, I want to get a new car." It's just not. People, we as Americans are so accustomed to just having a car note. Nobody seems to be able to just go in and buy a car. So everybody's used to just paying a car note. That's just part of living. And for me, I'm not okay with that anymore. So I didn't want to go and do that. So this really put me in a bind because now I don't have a car. I don't want to go get a new car and have another payment. So what was I going to do? So until I figured that out, uh, I started to, you know, get rental cars regularly um, through an app that I use. And, you can rent them daily as you need them. And they're pretty cheap. Anyway, so that's how I was kind of doing my thing. Uh, Most of you remember a few weeks ago, I had told you guys I had got a concussion. So during that time, um, with my car, I also had this concussion I was dealing with that I couldn't bounce back. I couldn't get, I tried to work out with a buddy of mine, um, and I ended up literally just throwing up my guts. But it wasn't because of the workout. It was more of the the um, the head trauma that I just had, and I had to stop working out because I just couldn't get right. So I had that going on, the car going on, and then trying to make sure that I had an income coming in. You know what I mean? Staying busy, and I was just literally just pushing balls to the wall, man, balls to the wall. Um, and I have not felt, myself. I haven't been able to work out, haven't been able to really just be me, be the guy that you guys all listen to when I'm doing the podcast and covering all the things that I do with my kids and the things that I do with my life and, all of that. I haven't been able to do any of it because I have been so off. Um, Now, with that being said, I got a hold of my mechanic that I've known for a while, and I told him what was going on, and he said, "Well, I that number is crazy. That's the dealership trying to get over on you, but I can get it done for you for probably 2800." And I said, "Are you serious?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm into that. Let's do it." And he said, "Okay." Um, so I had my car towed to his shop. Mind you, not knowing how I was going to pay this. I know in my head I had to get that car out of my house into the shop so it was actually in motion getting fixed. Um, and I just put it in God's hands that I'm like, look, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to get that money. I don't know how, but I'm going to figure it out. So I did that. I had it towed over there. He found a transmission, and then he just asked me to put 500 down so he can get started. And I said, okay. When do you think it'd be done? He said, probably about a week. So he actually got it done in about a week and a half. But during that time, I am literally grinding, not sleeping. Like going to bed at like 3, 4 in the morning, waking up, working, going to get my kids, making sure I'm hanging out with them, doing that. When I'm done there, work, falling asleep, getting literally just a few hours every day asleep so I can get this thing paid off. I, sold some of my stock so I could, give him some more money. Um, and every day I was literally transferring the money, uh, and just trying to make sure that I wasn't, because I don't like people who um, use people. You know what I mean? So, and I don't ever want to be that person. So, I wanted to make sure that he knew that I was making the effort. You know what I mean? And he was cool with it. Um, during during this time, um, you know, uh, my kids are, you know, they're understanding that they can't stay the night with me during this time because it's kind of hard for me to bounce them around with an Uber. You know what I mean? So I told them, hey, just understand that I got to get through this. I got to get my car repaired, got to get all that before I can have you guys staying the night, whatever. Because if you stay the night here, like, you're going to be bored because I'm not going to have a vehicle to take you guys anywhere or whatever. So you got to understand. And they were okay with that. So, we powered through. But during that time, like anything else, life just keeps rolling, man. And, I get a call from my mom, and my mom's, hysterical. And, and she tells me my sister is in the hospital, and she's telling me that, they're saying they need someone there to make a decision about pulling the plug. And I'm thoroughly confused because I'm like, what do you pull the plug? What are you talking about? And she's like, they're saying they're gonna pull the plug, but they need someone there, this and that, to make a decision. Because I said, for what? And she's like, she had a severe asthma attack, and me, I know better than that because I just do. I've had friends who were drug addicts. I've had family who was drug addicts. I have been around that stuff, my entire life. And I told my mom, I said, they don't put you on life support for an asthma attack, and I said something's going on, and as most moms don't want to hear that, but my mom especially, you know, my mom has always meant well, um, but my mom's heart sometimes supersedes the truth. Um, she means well, but she just doesn't want to know the truth, and that's what was going on. Uh, so I, spoke to my niece, found out the truth, and my sister did in fact have an overdose, and excuse me. Um, and that was hard to accept, even for me, because I know she's had her struggles. Um, she has been under the grasp of so many different things over the years, um, because of the people she's decided to hang out with, the people that she's decided these are my close circle of friends. And the people she's decided to fall in love with, they've all had these problems. Um, Going through, everything that I have been going through, and then getting that call, and then having to have this conversation with my mom, and my mom not wanting to hear the truth, and kind of living in denial, just didn't make anything that I was going through any easier. I just started to feel the weight of everything. Um, what you guys got to understand is during this time, I was biking a lot. So where they stationed these rental cars that I was using is downtown San Jose. So I would bike at during the day. I would bike almost 5 miles to get there, and then I would work or use the car or whatever work. And then by the time I was done, it'd be 2, 3, sometimes even 4 in the morning. And then I would bike 4 or 5 miles back home. And I would do this every night because I'm not big on borrowing things from people. And I had people say, hey, you can borrow my car. And I just don't do that. That's not how I function. And so I was taking pride in myself, saying, this is not easy, but this is what you do. This is how you power through this. This is how you accept the challenge and you get through this. This is how you become stronger. This is how you prove to yourself that you can take on anything that is thrown your way and survive it with flying colors. Now, mind you, that was all fine and dandy, and then I get this call, and it just knocked me off my rocker, man. Me and my sister, over the last 4, 5 years, we haven't been connected, and this goes back to me telling you guys a long time ago that you have to there's certain people that you just kind of have to separate yourself, and you can't give access to yourself to certain people in your life. And unfortunately, I had to do that with my sister because I knew that she was struggling with certain things, but there was certain things that she was calling me for, certain things she was snapping at me for, that I just couldn't allow her to pick up the phone and do this repeatedly as I'm sitting here going through a divorce and doing all this. Because mind you, when this was all going on, and I had to finally put a stop to it, I was literally in the birth stages of a divorce. So my world was coming down, crashing. And then I got my sister who's dealing with all this stuff, and she's calling me, acting very disrespectful, expecting me to, send money, expecting me to do certain things, expecting me to do that, do this, do that. And I'm like, I'm your brother. I'm not your boyfriend. I'm not your fiance. I'm not the father of your kids. Those are my niece and nephew. And you can't call me and be disrespectful like that. I mean, it was. I'm not gonna share like the conversations we had, but it was to the point where I had to finally say, look, you are no longer um, able to call me no more. You know, now if there's anything going on out there, um, my mom is gonna have to be the one to call me, not you. So that's what the last 4 or 5 years with her was like. So when this thing kicked off recently, you know, my mom wasn't too happy, you know, and she didn't want to hear the truth. And then eventually, um, she called me and she said she was upset and she didn't want to argue with me and didn't want to fight with me. Um, and I had to explain to her, Mom, I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything just to make you happy. I'm not gonna do it. It's just not something that I'm good at. You know, um, she has an addiction problem, and it's time you understand that that is the truth. And there's nothing that you can do because you have been there for her, supporting her, trying to help her, and she's done nothing but walk all over you, and you continue to allow it. And I asked her, I said, let me ask you a question because I know she pulled through and she's fine, whatever fine is after something like that. And she says, I said, when she woke up, what did she ask you? What did she say? Being that you were literally the only person by her side, what did she say? And she said, where is so and so? Now, so and so is the guy who is also a drug addict himself that she's been seeing, and that's who she asked for. I already knew that was going to be the answer, but I wanted to hear it. So I told my mom, I said, she didn't say, Mom, I love you. Thank you for being here for me. Um, I was scared. Nothing. Mom, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you so much. I go, did she say any of that? She said no. I said exactly. She's been, you know, let out of the hospital. You know, well, she wasn't let out of the hospital. They put her in ICU, and she checked herself out against doctor's orders, of course. And my mom is, trying to understand all that, and I it's a touchy situation for me because I told my mom, and for anybody out there listening, I don't want anybody to think that I don't love my sister because I do, and I pray for her a lot. I pray for her kids, and I pray for their safety. Um, but there's only so much you can do with an adult who just continues to make bad decisions that can eventually end up killing them. You know what I mean? So after all of that, you know, I'm still without a car. I hadn't picked it up yet from my new mechanic. I'm still hustling away. Uh, and then my kids, man, Jaden gets sick. Um, it's the flu. I know, but every time someone gets sick now, the first thing out of someone's mouth is it COVID? Did you get tested? It's like some badge of honor or something. So yeah, no, he got the flu, and he wasn't feeling very good, which was not ideal because they were like literally a week away from starting school. So you can't send your kids to school, especially now. You know what I mean? With any sort of coughs or anything like that, they just don't want the kids at school sick. So, you know, I'm making sure he's getting medicine. Me and his mom are taking care of him. Um, and then he starts to feel better. His last night of feeling sick, he fell asleep on my chest, and I was drenched, literally drenched, when I went to go lay him down. He had sweat everything out, but literally it went onto me. So, knowing me, I haven't been sick in almost 4 years. Um, Knowing the way my body is, because he sweat into my shirt, and my shirt was literally drenched. When I put him to bed, I said, I'm gonna get sick. I said, I'm gonna get sick. I know it. My shirt is it's just, it's wet. It's crazy. Um, Jordan woke up. He wasn't feeling good either, so he got sick for a couple of days. Then he was fine. I got sick, and it floored me. Uh, I didn't have any cold. I didn't have any coughing. Didn't have any, uh, you know, people were like, "Oh, I hope it's not COVID. You should get tested," and all this stuff. I said, "Listen, I don't have any of the COVID symptoms of, losing your taste and, you know, vomiting and all these things that come with COVID. I don't have none of it." Um, and I said, and by the way, if I get tested for COVID and they say I have COVID, what does that mean? Is there some special COVID medicine they're going to give me? Or is it just so I could say that I finally got COVID during the pandemic, and I can share that with everybody? Is that not because there's no special COVID medicine, and most people were like, "Well, I mean, you're kind of right, but you're not going around people." I said, "No, I'm not going around people." So, obviously, I'm staying in my little bubble with my kids and not going anywhere, not making, you know, I had to miss church, because I am respectful. I'm cautious of being around. But honestly, man, even if I wanted to, I couldn't be around it. I was sleeping so much. The only thing I had was obscene amount of body ache. My entire body was just, I felt like an old man. Um, I could not do anything, and I could not stop sleeping. Um, and it just sucked, man. Like, it, getting sick for the last 8 or 9 days, like that's how long I had it. It just felt like every day I was like losing a piece of me. Like, just, I can't work out. I can't go hiking. I can't do anything that I normally do that makes me who I am. The guy that you guys listen to on the podcast, the guys that you guys follow, and the guy that you know in person. Some for who those of you who listen but actually know me in real life. I have not felt like me, and it's been well over a month, and being sick made that even worse to the point where there would be nights where I'd drop down on my knees and pray and be like, "What's going on?" First it's the car, then it's the concussion, then it's the, you know, um, trying to find a mechanic, and then finally finding a mechanic, but not knowing how I'm going to pay the guy. You know, then it's my sister. Then it's being sick. You know, and it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. And I said, I hate this because I don't even know who I am right now. I just felt very disconnected, and I kept trying to stay out of my head because you know the mind has a thing, man. Like it can, like that old school ghetto voice song. You know, it can play tricks on you. And my mind was definitely playing tricks on me. It was definitely, I was starting to doubt myself with, you just start going down this little hole of life. And then you start, you know, is this what my life is now? Like, am I going to be, you know, dealing with this and struggling with this and da da da? And and I had to like really power through all that. And, you know, as of probably a couple of days ago, I finally am starting to feel like me again. You know, I'm getting, you know, I pretty much got my strength back. Um, and I'm starting to feel like me again, you know, and that's important. Um, you know, it's just a weird, there's been so much going on over the last couple of weeks. It's just been, everything has just been boom, 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 boom. And in the midst of all this, my kids started school again. And this year is, you know, it's hard, you know, because this is the first year we're actually taking them to two different schools. Now, we didn't do that last year because it was all homeschooling, right? But this year is the, you know, taking one of my sons to one school, then driving down the street and around the block and getting the other one to school, to that school, and then the same thing afterwards. You know, they both get off at the same time, so one of them has to wait. You know, so it's just been like getting back into the routine of doing that as a father. Um, is that it's just tough, you know, like man, it's been so long that like now I got to remember to do that, and I'm glad, like I'm glad, like I got my car back, so I can do that. But it's been, you know, it's been one thing after another over the last couple of weeks, and everything's starting to feel semi-normal again. And you know, uh, I'm just hoping to just get back on my plan for what I'm trying to do. Now, I always talk about the plan, right? And some of you guys are probably like, "What's your plan? What's your plan?" Well, here's my plan. Um, you know, I have this. You know, like I told you part of the plan, and the part of the plan that I just told you about was not having a car payment, not jumping back into another car, or, you know, a car note, which is something that I'm getting away from. But the other thing is, I'm working to be 100% debt free, which means I don't have time to hang out and spend money on going on dates and doing all these other little things. I'm having to be very, very picky with what I choose to do with, you know, my time. Usually, I use my time for my kids. Um, they don't require a lot, although I do like to, you know, take them to games and do things of that nature. Um, but I'm trying to clear the debt that I have left over, um, so I can eventually jump into the real estate game and start um, putting money uh, into real estate and um, having my first go at that and start having some property and whatnot, um, and learn how to navigate that so I can grow it. A lot of people say, well, why don't you go and try to buy a house? That's the other thing. this plan to an outsider sounds nuts because I am very honest with everybody. I don't have a whole lot of money. I'm not sitting on a stack of money. I'm not doing any of that. But what I do have is this: I have great credit. I'm about to be clear of debt, hopefully by the end of the year, and I won't need to use my own money to jump off into doing real estate because of the fact that I have great credit and because I would be the first time doing a lot of this stuff. So I have a couple of friends that are already doing what I am aspiring to do. That once I'm ready, are going to help me get started in that. Now, what will sound crazy to some people is I don't have any desire to buy a home just to say I own a home. And what I mean by that is I know most people, um, they think the norm, just like the norm of having a car note, is having a mortgage. They think that is the norm. And I guess for the most part, that's what we are taught is the norm. That is not my norm. That's not what I want. I have no desire to jump into a home and have a 30-year mortgage. That's just not what I want to do. I want to buy a home, which means I want to walk over to a company and say, that's the house I want. That's the ticket price. I want to buy it cash. Sounds nuts, right? Because you're talking to somebody or you're listening to somebody right now that doesn't have nearly anything close to the amount of money to do that. But that's the thing for me. I would rather not have anything like that than to just jump into a 30-year mortgage. So there's a reason why I won't do that. That's not the American dream to me. So I have a very, very well thought out plan of how I want to do this. And it's going to take me all my focus, you know. And to be honest with you, that's what put me in a funk. I don't think I'll go as far as say depression, but it put me in a funk because everything I was going through recently, I feel like it trampled over all of that stuff, and it had me doubting, um, you know, at times it had me doubting. It really did. Mhm. And I had people, hey, if you need to borrow money, if you need it, and I'm like, no, 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 don't. I don't do that. I don't borrow money. I don't do anything. I am a survivor. I'm a soldier. Like I don't do all that. I don't walk around and ask people to do all that. You know what I mean? I don't expect people to save me or whatever. Um, I'm not saying I have never done that because don't be mistaken. Um, there are some times when you have to drop your pride, and when a friend says, "Hey, let me help you," sometimes you just got to do it. But 90% of the time, I'm not trying to do all that, because you got to understand that you're not always going to have people around you for that. So you have to start conditioning yourself to learn that you better figure out how to get through situations like these on your own. And I've had to do that a lot. Um, like I tell a lot of you guys, man, I tell people all the time, I'm in California by myself. And the only reason why I'm still in California is because of my kids. If I didn't have kids, I would not be here. Um, you know, so when things go sideways for me out here, I have to pick myself up and dust myself off and say, hey, get back to it. Get back to it. You know, um, Now I want you to understand, uh, it is okay to go through things like this and have your moment. have your moment where you break down, your moment of weakness. But you gotta keep those. You gotta keep those moments to a minimum, because if you have too many of them, you end up staying there, and that's where trouble lies. If you stay there, you're gonna hurt yourself even more, because you're gonna sit in this puddle of your own bullshit, and you're not gonna fight. And you need to fight every day. You need to fight, and that's what I've had to get better at over the years, and I'm glad that I've gotten there, because um, I've definitely needed to fight, man. I've definitely needed to fight. Um, it's just I am very proud of where I've come over the years, and learning how to, like the quote that I started this podcast with, learning how to control and have power over my brain, over my mind. Um, when you learn to have power over your mind, you can push yourself to do things that you never thought you'd be able to do. And that's not just in physical fitness or anything like that. That's in life as well. Um, I'm not a real big drinker. I'm not a, I don't smoke weed. Um, I don't do any of those things. A lot of people do those things to kind of, you know, get them, sedated and whatnot. And I'm just not big on that, because I'm very big on, like I tell everybody, you can't really live life um, unless you actually feel everything that life has to offer. And that means feeling the pain, feeling the sadness, feeling the anger, feeling the happiness, the joy, uh, all of those things. Like you have to feel everything in order to really say that you are enjoying life to its fullest and you're really living your life. So I think when you use these other things to sedate yourself, um, I think that interferes with that. So um, everything that I've been going through, I've felt every bit of it. The days that I felt weak, the days that I felt like a failure, which there are a lot of days during these last 6 weeks where I did feel like a failure. It's crazy, right? Car breaks down and you find out you're about to be $7 grand in the hole, and then you start calling yourself a failure. That's what your mind does. Your mind starts telling you, well, you're a failure. You're not a failure, your car failed. But your mind starts telling you, you're a failure because you can't pay for it. And that's what my mind was doing. My mind was telling me, no, you're a failure, Ray, because you can't afford to fix that thing. And now look at you. And that's not true. Um, my car failed. I am not a failure. And I had to remind myself that, that it's crazy. Like your mind starts doing these things when you're struggling, and you have to get strong and tell yourself, hey, it's not true, and I will get through this. It's like I always say, I always tell you guys, you gotta, continue to move forward every day, whether it's crawling, walking, jogging, whatever it is. As long as you're moving forward every day and making progress, that's the goal. Um, so I, I paid the car off. Like I said, I sold some stock. I, you know, was grinding my butt off to pay. And then I got busy with my my media business, Actually got quite a few jobs during that time, which it was just an absolute blessing, because they were jobs that I didn't bank on coming through, and they did come through. So it helped me. Um, it helped me really, pay this thing off faster. I was actually blown away. In the end, the car came out to, over $4 grand, and and it's done. You know what I mean? Um, so I'm happy about that. Shout out to my mechanic Dave, and so that's done. And now I'm, like I said, after being sick and whatnot, I'm starting to feel normal again. You know what I mean? I actually feel like I can go for a run because I have my strength back, which you almost forget, like, when you work out as much as I used to, and I say used to because it's been 6 weeks, um, you you don't feel like yourself, man. Like you're like, I don't feel healthy. I don't feel like me. So I'm itching to go for a run. I'm itching to hit these weights right here, and I'm gonna get back to it because now I feel like myself again. And I can't wait to go hiking again. Like it feels like all of these things were taken from me. Um, but I'm back and I feel great. And I know I hadn't done a podcast in quite some time, and I really didn't know what this podcast was going to be about. I just know that I wanted to share with you guys an update as to what I've been going through and what I've been, persevering through, um, and share that with you guys so I could get past this episode and then get back to reality and start giving you the episodes that you really want to hear. Um, but that's what this episode's about. It's just to catch you guys up what my last 6 weeks has been like. I actually got some really, really good feedback from episode 40, Earn Your Crown. It's actually probably been the most feedback I've gotten on a podcast, and since I've started. So I want to thank you guys for that. That podcast just came from the heart, and that was just something that I needed to share with you guys. But that was my last episode, and it's been a little while. So I'm just glad to be back. Hopefully, you guys stick with me, and that's pretty much all I have for right now. This was just an episode to catch you guys up with, you know, my my crazy life, man. And hopefully you guys are doing well yourselves. Um, I am back to me, and I hope you guys are doing good. That's pretty much all I have, man. I'm not gonna hold you much longer. Looks like we're 48 minutes in, but that's what I have. I want to tell you guys thanks again for your support, and I hope you guys are doing well. Again, you can check me out online, raymolina.com. I've got merchandise there. I've got book reviews for books that I read. If you like any of the books, you can buy them. There's Amazon links on every single book I read. Um, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Ray Molina. You can follow me, the podcast on Instagram at The Perfect Mess Pod. And for those of you guys who have sent money to donate to help grow this thing, I appreciate you guys. It's not necessary, but if you like to help, I use Cash App. It's $ It's Ray Molina. I forgot to share this with you. I am on TikTok now. I took the advice of somebody because I didn't think I needed to have a TikTok. And someone told me, hey, the podcast stuff that you talk about, like if you put up excerpts on TikTok, there's a good possibility that those will get shared a lot and people will learn about your podcast a lot more through TikTok. So I am on TikTok, and it's just like everything else. It's Ray Molina. So you can follow me on TikTok. All right. I think that's everything I have. I love you guys, man. And like I always say, my life isn't perfect. Oftentimes it's a mess, but for me, it is the perfect mess. All right, you guys take care. God bless. This has been episode 41. Thank you. Peace.
Perfect mess is my perfect mess. Perfect mess.